getting connected in the local church. So today I want to make opening statements. One, being connected in the church is not just about church attendance. It's not just about church attendance. It's not just going to church or kuwa mshirika tu pale. As we have said, and I've said before, in the church, in every congregation of a church, there are different people or categories of people. Kuna wale ambao they are just passers-by. Somebody can be passing by and they see, maybe they have never been this way, they see Bridge of Hope Church. And then they hear us. And somebody says, let me pass by here. I see what they are doing. There is something, I'm hearing them making noise or somebody talking. Let me get there and see. Or somebody just woke up and they said, I feel like going to church. I don't know where, but there is a church somewhere. Let me go there. That's a passerby. That's somebody ambaye anapita tu, ni mpita njia. And they are also welcome because church is an open door. Church is an open door. Mpita njia amekaribishwa. Hata mkora amekaribishwa. Any person is welcome. And any such a person who just comes to see or passing by is a passerby. Then there are visitors. Mtu ambaye labda alikaribishwa na mwingine, or somebody is in the neighborhood and then they didn't know where to go to church that day. And they say, let me go and visit that church. So they will come and you ask them, I'm just a visitor. I'm just a visitor. That's a visitor. They are in the church. And then, kuna yule ambaye ni mshirika kwa Kiswahili. Or just I don't know what really word to use. Yule ambaye anasema, pale ndipo huwa na shiriki. That's better. That's the place. I worship in that church. I worship in that church. So, the only attachment to the church is that's where they worship. So after some time, they can just decide, let me go and worship somewhere else. Huyo tu, ni mtu tu anakuja kanisani, just to worship God, in quotes, or just to have church. That's the kind of a person I'm talking about. But in the church, kuna yule ambaye in the true sense of the word is yeye ni mshirika. Yeye ni mwenyeji. That is my church. That's where I belong. There I have my pastor. There are my brethren. Huyo ni mwenyeji. And that is the kind of a person we are addressing. Supposedly, ourselves. And also addressing any other person who may be a visitor, but they don't know. They don't understand there is a sense of belonging to a church. Or yeye ni mtu tu wakuja tu kanisani kuabudu na kwenda, but they don't know the essence of the church. That's what we want to understand from the very root of the church. So, no one in the church is expected to be a spectator. So, a visitor, mpita njia, can be a spectator because they are just watching. They are just evaluating. So they are spectating, watching and seeing what is happening, weighing it, whether it satisfies their expectation. But my brother, my sister, when you say, I belong to this church, then you are not called to be a spectator. You are called to belong. And how do you belong? You belong by getting connected. So it is this sense of connection that we want to introduce. Any person who is actually connected to the church, whatever happens in that church, it is in the bottom of their hearts. They have a sense of belonging. They have a sense of commitment. They have a zeal and a compassion and a passion to be involved in whatever happens there. To make an input, to make impact. That is the expectation of God. And I want us to, in this introduction, to highlight the scriptures that form that foundation from the Bible, scriptures that we shall be expounding on throughout the series. Bwana asifiwe sana. Starting all the way from the very root of the church. So much has happened in the world, but it is good to go back to the source. It is good to go back to the source. Let me give an example of the Tana River. I will not talk about the other river. Let's pick an example of the Tana River. If you go to the very roots of the Tana River, up the Aberdares, and some sources up Mount Kenya, the water is so pure and clean. So pure and clean. Tana River haijapitia Nairobi kama Athi River, where the Athi River is polluted much from just immediately the source. But the Tana River, you move down, but I can guarantee you, by the time you are getting down to where the dams are, the Masinga Dam, the water is no longer clear, let alone being clean. By the time it reaches down Tana River district or county, the water is so murky and polluted. The same thing it is with the church. Down the line, from the source, from the very root of the church, the waters of the church. And in the Bible, waters refer to the people. The waters were pure and clean. But down the line, through the years to where we are, the waters have become so murky, so polluted. It is good to go back to the source and see what nature of the river. Bwana asifiwe sana. And that is the expectation of God. When Jesus says, I will build my church and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. The church that Jesus is building is the same church that he founded. Are you getting my point? It is the same church that he founded. Lakini down the line watu wameongezea mambo yao, kindini chao. It is so polluted, so confusing that now, unless kwa kweli mtu tangu chanzo chake anajua ukweli, what is the church? What is the church? What is the essence of the church? I can tell you today, multitudes of people belong to church, in quotes, but they don't understand the essence of the church. It's so confusing. It's so confusing. If you start moving today and say you have the facility to travel from one church to another, even up Kitengela, by the end of the day, my brother, you'll be confused. You will even be wondering, why should I be going to church? Because you don't know what is true, what is it. Unaenda hapa unakuta these ones are doing this, wengine they are rolling down, wengine they are doing whatever, wengine they are twerking in the church, wengine is just disco in the church, wengine Bwana asifiwe sana. And you get so confused. At the end of the day, unaweza kusema ni heri nikae nyumbani. But Bwana asifiwe sana. There is a way from the very roots the church was founded. And that is where I would want us to get to, so that at the end of the day, we may get to the bottom line of the essence of the church. So we begin reading from the book of Acts chapter 2, the very foundation of the church, from verse 40. Now this was on the day of Pentecost, and the Holy Spirit has come upon the disciples that Jesus left behind. And they have been filled with the Holy Spirit. And Peter, filled with that Spirit, he stands and is speaking to the people, a multitude from all nations, and he's talking to them. Then in verse 40 it says, and with many other words he testified and exhorted them, saying, be saved from this perverse generation. Be saved. Bwana asifiwe sana. Then those who gladly received his word were baptized. And that day, about 3,000 souls were added to them. I'm stressing some words. About 3,000 souls were added to them. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine, in fellowship, in breaking of bread, and in prayers.